So you're on board with building relationships, but how do you do that? Well, you got to know principle number 3. People have different natural tendencies at work. Say that another way. People are like cats and dogs. Now, I'm a dog person myself. I much prefer dogs over cats. These are my 2 dogs. The one on the bottom is a purebred Chihuahua. Her name is Honey Robocop Poncho Tequila. On top, we've got Kobe Taco Corona Esquire. He's a Chiweenie. That's a Chihuahua Dachshund mix. They have multiple names like Royals. And that should tell you that I'm one of those really annoying dog people, right? If you follow me on Twitter or Instagram after this, you're going to see so many pictures of my dogs. Like this one of my husband balancing a beer on my dog's head, or this one of my dogs showing off their haircuts, or like why this picture of my dog hasn't gone viral. I just don't understand. Maybe someone can explain it to me in the class. But my point here is this. I don't understand cat people. I really don't. I don't understand cat people. I don't understand why anyone would choose the love of a cat, which basically sticks around just because you have the food. It doesn't really like you. I don't know why people would choose the love of a cat over the love of a dog. Doesn't make sense to me. But you know what? I don't think cat people are bad people. I don't think that they've made poor life choices. We just have a fundamental difference of opinion on this issue. Neither of us is right, neither of us is wrong. It's just a difference of opinion. And the same is true when it comes to different styles at work. A lot of times you'll see this characterized as some people are an introvert and some people are an extrovert. And look, don't even get me started on the millennial stereotypes because a lot of them are not true. You cannot characterize an entire generation of people that were born within a 20-year time span of each other as all wanting the same things. Because it's way more complicated than just extrovert or introvert or generational. But the key is that you just have to accept that different styles exist and they may or may not be like yours. Don't judge them as good or bad, right? It's just a different approach. You have to detach and look at it as unemotionally as you possibly can. And then you have to adapt your behavior to what the person in front of you needs from you. Okay, if the person in front of you has a completely different work style than you, you have to adapt to them. And sometimes people with the same work style, they have a lot of issues with people with similar work styles, so you have to adapt in different ways. One of the best ways to do this is just to mirror them. Give them what they are giving you. If someone is fast-paced, try to pick up the pace. If someone likes to work at a slower pace, then slow down. If someone wants to make small talk with you, make small talk with them. Don't resist it. Don't talk about this as unprofessional. If someone wants to work in their office with the door closed, don't bother them and try to make them do social things. Just adapt to them. Be conscious of what they need. Most of the time, the things they need have more to do with them than they have anything to do with you at all. And think of it as being considerate. Now, if you want to get more advanced in this, you can look at psychological assessments as a quick shortcut to doing this. And my favorite psychological assessment of all time is DISC. Now, I'm not going to do a deep dive into DISC here, but I just want you to know it as an option that's available to you. DISC is your ultimate shortcut for understanding different work styles and how to adapt to them. If you take a DISC assessment, a good one, it's going to give you an exact outline of what your work style is, of what all the other 4 styles are, and exactly what you need to do to identify and adapt to those different styles. Now, a word of warning with this. If you're going to go out and look for a DISC assessment after you see this to get that nice shortcut, do not take a free test on the internet. Don't do it. They are simply not accurate. Invest a little bit of money. I don't care if you do it with me or someone else. I don't care where you go, but take a high quality assessment because it's going to be much more accurate and much more helpful to you. So that's your ultimate shortcut. There are other types of assessments out there, but I just think that DISC is frankly the easiest one to use. Another thing is, guys, please, for the love of your sanity, Stop letting email run your social relationships at work. You've got to stop. Email is a horrible tool for anything that could be considered a human interaction. If you're trying to build relationships with people, it is never going to happen over email. Get up out of your chair and go talk to people, or pick up the phone, or if you work in entirely different cities, get on video chat. All of those things are good, but you need to allow people to hear the tone and inflection in your voice. Sometimes we send a really short email just because we're in a hurry and we don't really think about it, and the other person gets it and they instantly get pissed off because they think you're pissed off at them and just sent them a short snippy email. You didn't mean anything by it, but your intention has gotten lost. So let's make it a habit. If it's not something like scheduling a meeting or passing a document back and forth, get up out of your chair and go talk to people. You will build relationships so much faster. It's amazing. And the last tip I'm going to give you in this category is that you have to be vulnerable with people. You have to be vulnerable. I'm going to tell you another story. So I used to work at this god-awful job. I was so miserable there. But there was this one guy in particular that he and we were two completely different people. Right? He was very old and curmudgeonly and had been doing this forever, and he knew all this stuff, and I was this young upstart with new ideas, and he did not like me at all. And we would pick at each other back and forth and be so passive aggressive with each other. And this went on for months. Until one day in a meeting, of course, with like 12 other people in the room, he absolutely exploded on me. He screamed at me and gave me a thorough dressing down in the middle of this meeting in front of all these other people, and I was so pissed. You know that you get that point of pissed when you can't even speak? That's the level of pissed that I was. And I got up as soon as the meeting was over and I stomped out of the building, and I went and got lunch, and I sat there until I was good and ready to go back. And when I did, I walked into his office, I shut the door, and I said, "What is your problem?" And I looked at him, and in that instant, I knew that his explosion had nothing to do with me. It had absolutely nothing to do with me. He was getting it from all angles in the organization, and I just happened to be the person that was in his line of fire when he couldn't take it anymore. And in the course of that conversation, we opened up to each other about how much we both hated it there, how we were dealing with the stress, with the people that were causing us problems. We were vulnerable with each other. And I'll tell you what, I still didn't understand him, and he definitely didn't understand me. But for the rest of the time I was there, we were like office BFFs. We really were. We had a great relationship, all because we were able to be vulnerable with each other. And that's the core function of any team, right? That is the core foundational requirement. Google did this study a couple years ago where they looked at all of the different teams in their organization, and they found that the most successful teams, the number one thing by a mile that they had in common was that team members felt safe to take risks with each other and be vulnerable in front of each other. And that goes along with what we know about psychology too, right? Most of you have probably seen Maslow's hierarchy of needs when you took Psychology 101 in college. It's a really common thing. Basically, if we don't have our safety needs met, we can't get to the good stuff, right? We can't get to belongingness and esteem and self-actualization. And those are all the things that allow us to do our best work when we reach that level. And so here's another tip. It's not necessarily just about you being vulnerable. If you can help other people to be vulnerable, if you can help other people to feel psychologically safe, that is going to cement that relationship like nothing else you can do. Okay, help people to feel psychologically safe. Organizations nowadays, they have taken so much decision making away from highly qualified people. It is insane. It is insane how many decisions people who have gone to school and college and grad school for years and years and years, it is insane how many decisions they cannot make it work without checking with 1, 2, 3 other people to get sign off. And all of this has led to an amazing sense of powerlessness. And we see this all the time. You see this all the time when you go to meetings and those people are there and they puff out their chest and they pontificate about things that the whole rest of the room is like rolling their eyes at. They're not doing it because they feel powerful. They're doing it because they feel powerless. But if you can find a way to give them their power back, that is the best way to build relationships at work. And guess what, guys? You do it even if it's outside your job description. The phrase, "that's not my job," is one of the most detrimental phrases in any organization. This is not about your job description. This is about building human relationships. So at the end of the day, you've got to treat the people you work with the way they want to be treated. That's how you position yourself to gain buy-in from them on all your projects and how you can bring them along with you. If you want some more tips and advice for how to do that, continue on to the next video, principle number 4.